Hello, everyone. I'm Joseph Green, a PhD candidate at Boston University and chair of graduate student activities for HKN, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to our special session of GradLab on building your future as part of TechX. This webinar is geared towards empowering graduate students by exploring how to set your focus and build key skills during your degree, set up for success in industry and academia, as well as build towards your end goals and set expectations with your principal investigator. If you'd like to catch up with the full GradLab series, we'll put our link to our YouTube channel in the chat after this introduction. Our speaker today is Dr. Hulya Kirkici, the chair of the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at the University of South Alabama. Over the next half an hour, she will use her 30-plus years of experience in academia to share her insights and perspectives with us. Following this session, we will have a live Q&A, so get those questions ready. But before we begin, I would just like to announce to all graduate students in attendance that we are launching our 2023 Professional to Graduate Student Mentoring Program. We'll put a link in the chat as well. That's an application you can fill out by May 15th. And if you fill it out, we will pair you with a professional member in industry or academia to help you navigate your degree and plan for your future. This resource is completely free of charge and supported through a team of volunteers within HKN. Without further ado, please help me in welcoming Dr. Kirkici.
Joe, thank you so much for the great introduction, and thank you for HKN for allowing us to present this presentation to you and understand and answer your questions. And I am very, very happy that IEEE HKN and graduate students are planning and providing these information for the future engineers and future PhDs and future HKN leaders. And as Joe mentioned, I am the chair of Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at South Alabama. And I have a really long career. As Joe said, sometimes I feel I'm really old. And this is the University of South Alabama. It's a beautiful campus, and we do a lot of research here. We have a medical school, and that allows us to do not just your typical engineering research, but also applied research in biomedical sciences and other areas. So Joe mentioned that I have about 30 plus years of academic career, but it wasn't just academic career, and I have done a few other things as well. And I spent a couple of a little over a year at NASA working on shuttle program, space power systems program of the shuttle program. And I also spent some time at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base working on fast plasma switches and microplasmas ignition of combustion. So those are really exciting projects that I have done. And in addition to my administrative work here at South Alabama. So I'm kind of well-rounded, but I still don't know everything. So that's why I keep talking to the students to understand what students are asking these days. That will also help me, as well as it will help the students to answer their questions. But mostly, really, it's a two-way conversation, and I am really looking forward to all of you to send your questions and whatever concerns you may have to us, so I can be able to understand you and explore opportunities. So in the series that the GradLab prepared was the talk about looking at the bigger picture academic research. We mostly talked about how the graduate students work these days, how they get into the graduate school and what they do, how they choose projects, etc. So in my daily work these days, and I look at two different things. One is the EC impact of education programs and students on research. And I also look at the future engineers and technology professionals. And remember, not many of our students will go to getting PhDs. Not many of PhD graduates will be getting academic jobs. So I have to continuously think about what industry wants, what type of students we are producing, and what type of talent we are raising, and what type of individuals are going to be leading the technology in industry and providing future technologies for the communities and really humanity. So remember, IEEE is humanity, technology for humanity, right? That's what we do. Our job is to create technology for all of us. So why do we do academic research? It really allows someone to learn something new every single day. As a university professor, if I didn't learn anything every day new, then I am not capable of bringing that new knowledge to the classroom. So it's my job to continuously learn, and I love learning. And I with this, and I bring that confidence to my students, and I train my students to learn. It's important to develop development of a business program, tool, and infrastructure, and those are really part of the research. So professors really do research to enhance their their career in terms of promotion and tenure and promotion. And also it's important to stay current in technology to help the students to be successful. For graduate students, what is important is that get a better job. That is the goal of a graduate student, to get involved in research so they learn some and so they can get a better job. And of course, they're interested in learning. So I'm sorry, I have this cough. And graduate school and research, that's what we looked at it. You applied to graduate, your favorite graduate school, you were admitted to graduate school, and you're about to get your master's and PhD, and you select your research advisor. I'm going to pause 1 second. So once, as you learn about your projects, I apologize again. I am so sorry for taking just a quick break. As you continue working on the project, you present your results and you write your articles and you mature in your research area. You also think about, what do I do after that? What is next for you, right? And you look at other opportunities, you look at other people, you look at other collaborations, and you decide what is next for me. That is really the question that we're trying to explore today. What do my research contributions mean for my career, field, and personal skills? Really, your research contribution is another incremental work of your advisor's original work. You are the storyteller of that work, and you will probably are not going to carry that specific project with you once you graduate, but you will carry the tools and skills that you learn doing a technical research, doing an advanced research, and really learning how to learn. Once you complete the research, you need to find ways to use your research and training to discover what is next for you. And that is the goal. And you need to be exploring, and you need to be becoming more independent and be able to create new ideas and new solutions. And you start looking at similar works by others. You start searching for opportunities to collaborate, and you start visiting other people and other researchers, and you go to conferences. You find companies that value your work. So that is the really the focus of your work is, how can I use the talent? How can I use the tools, and how can I use the skills that I learned in graduate school, and how can I carry this forward for my next job, next position, next career? So those are the questions that you started to ask yourself. So to explore new ideas, learn new tools and methods, develop analytical skills, practice doing research work, those are really great. That's what you did in graduate school. You, you think about your graduate project and you will be your focus area forever. But that's really not entirely true. You will stay, for example, my background is in plasma physics, and I always stayed in that focus area and was able to find fringes and edges in that focus area to explore other things and connect to other areas, connect to other people, and collaborate with people to build something collaboratively in multidisciplinary area. Once you transition to professional life, that changes, right? From the graduate school to professional life, it changes. Right now, as a graduate student, you're told what to do. And once you graduated, then you may not be expanding on that to explore other problems to solve, but need to think of other options as well. You kind of need to grow. You need to grow your horizon. You need to grow your view. You need to grow your thinking about other opportunities, other research, other collaborations, and other people. Make sure those are valuable to the community as much as to you. So you gotta think of you first and then the community, or vice versa. Both of them are really important. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, and if you didn't enjoy what you did in graduate school, and you still have opportunity to change that focus area, but you still can use the skills that you learned in graduate school to carry them to the professional life. So that's what you're doing. So you start building your future. You keep asking yourself, what are my key focuses during my PhD? And building on that one, you start looking for jobs. Will this job be in academia or industry? Which one do I choose? You really don't know. That's why you need your mentors, you need your colleagues, you need your friends to show you different options. So you are the one that evaluating what is my future is going to look like. For example, for me, and I have several PhD students, and really three of them, well, all of them pretty much are working for industry or government research laboratories. And there are, all my PhD students are, none of my PhD students are in academia. And I didn't guide them. I didn't told them that to go to industry. That is what they were driven to. And three of them works for Intel, one works for GE Healthcare, and several of them works at international defense companies, and also in different industry settings. So you ask yourself, what do I do once my assigned research is over? And how do I build towards my end goal? And how do I set expectations for me and for my PI, meaning your advisor? And of course, your advisor is expecting things from you, expecting that you'll be successful. And how do you fulfill that? And that is where the collaboration comes in. You gotta keep that collaboration with your advisor, even if you're in 60 years old, even if you're getting close to your retirement. That relationship will always will stay, and your advisor in PhD will always have expectations from you. He will be your champion, he will be your collaborator, he will be your supporter. So you gotta think about all that as well. So you may be asking, how should I prepare for this transition from graduate school to professional life? You pretty much need to mentally prepare yourself for the transition from graduate student to new professional. You need to start thinking about it, time management. You need to start about regular scheduling. You need to start thinking about regular tasks and work. Those are the kind of things that people expect from you. It doesn't matter if it is in academia. It doesn't matter if it is industry. You now are professional. You got to think about all of them. And you need to start your professional development plan. You need to be active in societies, communities, and the technical profession. And you need to have your CV continuously updated. You need to be ready for an interview at any time. Even these days, many faculty, I tell my faculty, I want your CV to be ready for the next job. This job is not forever. You're not here at South Alabama forever. I want to see you to go other places and be a lot more successful. It is their decision. It is their decision, but that is what you need to do. You always need to be ready. You always need to be prepared. You always need to have an option to make a decision. So you also need to have a mentor, not just one, several. And you need to make sure that you look through your old files and your collaborations with others and colleagues that you had. Keep in touch with them continuously. They will be your friends forever. And you never know when you will meet them again. You never know when you will need them again. You never know you will collaborate with them. So keep in touch with all of those people. So it is continuously be part of your wealth that you will carry with you. And then you need to take ownership of your journey. It is you make a decision. It is your career. It's your research. It's your development. It is your job. And no one will tell you what to do. You make the decision. You are the one in charge. You are the one satisfied with what you are doing. And of course, all of the things that I just mentioned are really important for you to make those decisions. Mentors, colleagues, friends, updating your resume, recommendation letters, and time management, having regular schedule, all of them are really, really important in all of them. And of course, you don't know many of these soft skills. We're engineers. We're really not trained in soft skills. And that's why we have HKN Young Alumni Committee. They continuously do podcasts. And I encourage you to find those podcasts and training workshops to prepare you on these soft skills. And so those are very valuable to anybody, not just HKN students, but anybody. So no one is going to teach you those. And so this is a service by HKN that you really need to be paying attention and taking advantage of those opportunities to prepare you better for your future. So now, how do you decide? How do you decide, right? I love this cartoon because I'm a physicist and I'm also an engineer. So that's why I kind of always try to include this particular cartoon in most of my slides, because it's not just one word. There are multiple words out there, that multiple competing words that you need to be able to make a decision between those two. So you ask yourself, how do you adapt your research interest from PhD to postdoc to professorship? If that is the path you want to go, if the academic career is the one that you want to do. How do you remain flexible and competitive? And how do you find other opportunities and reframing your research? These are the questions for academic path, and there's always competition, and you need to be on top of it. So how do you turn your research interest into grants and momentum? That is very important. You have to have someone helping you. In my particular case, it was very difficult early on. I remember writing a proposal every single day. This is not just one proposal and submitting to different institutions. It's every single month I was writing a huge proposal with different ideas and different content and different topic early on in my career until I established my career. It's not that easy. It is difficult, but the life is not easy, right? That's why we're engineers. We work hard and we're smart, and we work very smart as well. So how do you network across institution? That's what you do. In my particular case, that's what I did early on. It was so difficult just locking myself in my office and writing proposals. And I started going to conferences and wrote papers about the ideas that I had, and I got data, and I published my work in conferences, and I met people. And one of these conferences, and I met my sponsor, one of my sponsors, and I pitched him an idea, and he says, "Oh, why don't you send me a white paper, and maybe we can work on this." And the next thing I know, I had a grant, and it continued that way. So you never know where the opportunity will come from, and you got to look at everything across the board. So you ask yourself, What is an academic interview like? That's difficult. Can you beat the odds? These days, we receive over 100 applications for one position. And it is the same for industry. They receive hundreds of applications for one position. The job market or finding a job is not that easy. You need to start thinking about it. What makes you different and what is unique about you that will put your resume on top? What did you do? Why are you so special? You need to keep thinking about it. These are the things that I did special. This is why I'm special. That's why I work for you. That's why you should hire me, right? And you ask yourself, do I really want an academic job or do I want an industry job? And how do you know? You don't know. And most of the recent graduates, either with bachelor's or master's or PhD, they most likely will take the first job is offered to them. But don't stay with that first job. That first job is important, and your resume is important to land to the first job. But that first job is a stepping stone for the next job. Now, in my case, and I pretty much stayed with the first job that I had, but because I loved what I was doing and I was having fun. If you're having fun, that's great. But if you are not having fun, then you need to find something else. And so this is the academic research pathway. And really early on, like I mentioned, I chased money. Wherever there was funding, that's where I did. That's what I submitted my proposal. That's where I went. And some of them stuck, some of them didn't. And when it didn't, then I start thinking a lot more carefully and clearly. And I said, okay, this is what I am good at. I am not going to waste writing time. I'm not going to waste time writing proposals, but I am going to look for the opportunities that I am good at it. So that is how you start your academic career. And of course, eventually, when you get to the end, you don't really care. You just do whatever you love to do. And as an engineer with a master's or PhD, you will be in a world of research. And many technologies are accustomed to, are initiated by research at academic institution. What if you don't like academic institution and if you went somewhere else? Your research is still valuable. Your research can be used for development by industry or could be a product development or application-oriented research. And of course, you can also think about it, as some students do, go to either medical school or go to management or go to really law school to develop public policies and patents or some other forms of not direct engineering research, but application of research that is necessary these days. So when you decide finding a job, you keep asking yourself, what do I want? Do I want a variety of work, or do I want travel? Do I want salary? Those are the questions that you keep asking yourself, and you need to make a decision on those. Oh, that's the wrong one. Wait. So how useful is a PhD for an engineer who wants to do an engineering job, not research? People who get PhD and don't want to be in academia are usually the ones who do not want a normal engineering job, and they want to extra challenging work, whether it's career in academia or industry. And they normally aren't given higher ranking positions and higher salaries, but they were often given work that was more theoretical. So in industry, your real salary is not going to be that different. And I remember my first PhD student getting an industry job, and really his salary wasn't much different than the engineer that was getting with a bachelor's degree. Probably the difference was 10%. After 6 years of school with PhD, the salary wasn't that great. But what was important is that the prospect of career growth was really high for that student. And he immediately started leading a research group and became a senior research engineer and became a senior research lead and became most likely eventually is going to be a fellow of his organization, meaning that really highly regarded person. So salary is not just the only thing. The important thing is, do you really enjoy doing that particular research at that company? Do you really enjoy creating new technologies using your skills that you learn in PhD? So that was the driving force for this particular student. And he's doing great, and he's all over the world leading multiple research teams and developing new technologies and new devices and new instruments for healthcare. That's what he does, and he's very happy about it. And so in summary, you pretty much have to have a plan. It's never too late to make a plan. Start now. Use the resources that are available to you. Those are with you all the time. And that includes coworkers, friends, and others. And believe in you. Believe in what you are doing. Believe in your research. That is the important thing. So you gotta keep asking yourself, do you enjoy research? Do I really enjoy research? Yes. If you didn't, you would not be doing master's thesis or PhD dissertation. You would not be in graduate school. You do enjoy research. So how do you use this research? And you ask yourself, is academia the only avenue for great research and science? Probably not. There are other high-tech companies that will value your research. And STEM PhDs are in high demand in industry. Yes, they are. An engineering PhD opens doors for jobs, but sometimes it closes. Sometimes you are overqualified. You gotta know which company values your PhD. You need to know what companies hire PhDs, and you need to target those. And again, the competition will be high, but you will be skilled in areas that they are really looking forward. You need to be able to find that. That's why your contacts, your friends, your collaborators, your professors, your advisor, they are very important to keep them close to you and continuously work with them and talk to them and get their advice. And with that, and I am presenting my two cats, and thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your fantastic insights. Now officially begins our Q&A section of this webinar here. So if you have any questions for Hulya, please put them in the chat. To get the conversation started, one aspect I think you made imperative is it's important to grow the right skills when you're going towards industry or academia. I guess for our general and hopefully graduate student audience here, what do you think are the most important skills to develop during a graduate program, both for that program and then afterwards?
I think during the graduate program, you need to learn to be independent thinker. That is very important. Your advisor will give you a task, and she may give you the instructions how to go about completing that task. But you also need to be independent thinker, and you need to create the solution. You need to find the path to get to the solution without waiting for your advisor to tell you what to do. And I think that is very important. That's where you learn. That's where you train, because you have a set goal by your advisor, and it has to get done. And if you are the active contributor to that, how to get to the path to get there, and you will develop those skills. Now, once you finish your PhD, what do you do with those skills? So you use them. Now you use those skills to find not just find the solution, but find the problem. What is the problem? What do I want to solve today? What challenges of the humanity is out there that has not been solved? And my skill sets, how can I use my skill set to find a problem that I will solve that. So I think that's the difference between being a PhD or master's student in graduate school and after graduate school. You need to go and find this problem, and then you need to find a solution.
Great. We have a question in the chat from Adam. Is there any good resources to find companies that desire PhD students?
Unfortunately, there aren't. There are several postings on the LinkedIn by companies, and they do advertise their positions, and they do specifically look for PhDs. But really, most of these type of jobs are word of mouth by your advice, and you will hear them through either conferences or your advisor or your university, and they will be coming through for recruiting purposes, and you will need to be talking to those people to sell your ideas, and they are looking for independent thinkers. They're not looking for someone who will follow the instructions. They are looking for independent thinkers that will develop products for them. And you need to know what that is. So you need to find a company that actually is looking for innovation. If you find that company, you just ask them. They may not have a position, but if you tell them these are the skills you have, you may get a job. Remember, if you didn't ask the question, the answer is always no, right? You have to ask the question.
And if you don't mind me following up on this question real fast, I think it's a very important aspect and something that both me and a couple of peers are struggling at now that we're finishing our degree. I was searching for an internship this summer, and I had a bear of a time trying to find good internships that matched my expertise. And I applied to a lot out there and didn't have the best success. But one of the best ways to get noticed in my experience is become more than just a piece of paper, become more than just your resume. So whether it's a conference or you have someone come and visit your lab, or you get a chance to go and visit another lab, making personal connections and making an impact matters so much more than submitting your resume or a good cover letter to a company. I managed after a lot of hard work to actually get 2 internships, but both of them, one was through my mentor, part of the HKN mentoring program I told you about. If you saw last session with Ryan Pales, he's the guy. He recommended me, and I managed to go through that channel. The other one was someone I met at a conference. We hit it off, and even though it wasn't 100% overlap, they liked that personal connection enough that it carried through to an internship offer. So really take those chances to hone your soft skill and meet new and exciting people. I think that making a memorable impact is definitely worth it at every opportunity. What are your thoughts, Hulya?
Oh, exactly. Really, personal connections are very important because, like I said, what makes you unique, what makes you special, that company will want you to be their employer, right? So that is so important. You put a face to that piece of paper if you meet them in person. So they get to know you, they get to know your personality, they understand your skill sets, and they're ready. So that personal connection is so important. And just like me getting my first grant without writing a proposal. If I didn't meet this person in a conference, and if he didn't hear my presentation, I wasn't gonna have that grant. That is where you find. So I tell my faculty, go see the sponsor, research sponsors individually. If they haven't called for proposal or not, it doesn't matter. You just go and visit them. That's how you get to know people. So as a graduate student, I think it's so important to ask your advisors or your professors, is there any conference, or can you nominate me for a talk? Can you recommend me to go see a company? And they will be happy to do it. And that puts that personal connection. Yeah.
Fantastic. And just to touch on Adam's next question, what skills are they looking for? In my experience, that does vary company to company, but one great thing you can invest in that will affect all your relationships with any company is your soft skills, being able to effectively communicate your ideas. So if I had to give a recommendation that I got and really, really helped me for any grad student out there, have a couple of different pitches of both you and your research. Have a 3-minute technical one for someone in your field, a 1-minute one for someone who's technical but outside your field, and a 30-second one in the most layman terms you can for everyone else. And that will get you really, really far if you can show a particular employer you can communicate complex ideas effectively.
Exactly. Exactly. You're perfectly correct on that, Joe.
And moving on to the next question, I'll move on to Nancy's before moving to Sylvie's. Nancy asks, would you recommend the national labs if you're interested in research?
Oh, definitely. Now, important part about the national labs is that if you're an international student, it will be very difficult. If you're a U.S. citizen, then it's the best way. National labs continuously looking for PhD students to do their high-tech research. That's so important. But because not many US citizen students are seeking to go to graduate school, the number of PhDs who are US citizens are very slow. And so that's why national labs are continuously looking for to fill positions. That's exactly right. And I have a couple of my students in different countries. They were international students. They went back to their countries, and they work actually for the national labs of that particular respected countries. Yeah.
Just to briefly follow up on that, I've had a couple of friends go to national labs and absolutely love it. There's a cool opportunity. Let me see if I remember the name. I think it's the Ford Foundation Fellowship Program. It gets you
Yes.
basically in the door through a postdoc to your national lab of choice and with a senior researcher in a like field. If you're interested in that direction, that's a great avenue to explore.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just the Ford Foundation, but it's also Air Force Research Labs and
Thank you.
Army Research Labs.
Mhm.
Army has smart program that you can write proposals to. As a PhD student, they start early on. And our Air Force Research Labs have summer fellowships that you can apply for, and you can go there. And that's how you get your foot in the door. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to Sylvie's question. As a master's in robotics student with a passion for computer vision, I'm interested in addressing industries challenging through my thesis. Could you suggest ways to connect with industry professionals for potential collaboration?
Oh wow, that's a really good area. Um, I don't know any specific company, but these days there are a lot of them out there. It is robotics, vision, computer vision for robotics is everywhere, from traffic lights to collision prevention to unmanned vehicles, either aerial or underwater, and self-driving cars, and those are very important. There are so many small companies that you don't even know. If you put this phrase in Google with a company, and you will come up with multiple of companies list. So I don't know if they will hire or not, but you need to go through and look at them. The other place to go is that talk to your university's career services. It's a great resource for you to find these type of cutting edge companies, because they come to the universities looking for students in these areas, and they are the matchmakers for your next job. So that will be a great place to start as well.
All right, as we wait for a couple more questions to flow in here, and I'll check the Q&A here in a second. Out of curiosity, if you were to go back and meet graduate student Hulya and give her a piece of advice, some life skills you wish you worked on there, either towards having a successful career or just kickstarting your early young professional life, what would you recommend?
I wish I was a lot more engaged in leadership positions like HKN or IEEE, or I was a physics student as an undergraduate, physical society, and some sort of professional society to give me more outgoing and more opportunity to meet people. I wasn't. I was a very shy person. I didn't have the opportunities to do any leadership positions. When I was a student. So those would be the important. Those kind of skills, having student leadership positions, are very important. What it tells the company is that you can lead a team. It's not just your brain, but it's also your collaboration. It's also your communication with people. It's also getting group of people working towards a common goal. Those skills are really important to put you on top of the list for the companies to consider. So that's what I would do. Yeah.
I really appreciate that answer. Just to follow up, I had the opportunity to act as a chapter leader for the HKN chapter at my university, BU, and I can't tell you how much I learned through that process. Just as you were saying, being able to learn how to manage a group of people and take a broad audience and synergize them towards a couple of discrete goals, it's really good insight into not just general leadership, but even project management and time management skills. If you do get an opportunity at your local IEEE or HKN chapter or beyond, definitely take the opportunity. It's always a great way to get engaged. We also look for volunteers within HKN proper. You can find more information about that on our webpage. Since we're on the topic, Hulya, could you talk a little bit more about the importance of staying engaged with a professional society to be able to build your future past a graduate degree?
Yeah. So once I discovered the value of IEEE, and I never stopped volunteering. I pretty much work close to 20, 30 hours a week in addition to my daily job for IEEE. And I don't get paid, and I don't want to get paid, but that is really important. Like I mentioned earlier, my first really grant that I didn't have to write proposal came through attending a conference. And the conference, that first IEEE conference that I attended as a professional professor, was the one that led me to become volunteer. And somebody asked me, "Oh, how would you like to host this conference in Auburn?" That's where I was, in Auburn, in 2 years. And I had no idea what that meant. And I said, "Sure." And that was a great experience for me to host a conference, an IEEE conference, and get to know people. That expands your horizon in terms of getting to know people, as well as learning what other people are doing. And it also puts you in in a vulnerable place, because you always think that you're the best, right? You always think, "Oh, you do great work, and I'm excellent. I'm an A student. My research is so valuable." Yes, but you're not the only one. You learn how many other people out there that are really as good as you are, as smart as you are, as talented as you are, maybe better. And it is really humbling experience to know these great people and be able to work those people. And professional societies, I cannot say enough about getting engaged in professional societies and serving, volunteering, and leading people, and understanding and learning about the technology.
Building off of one sec. Yeah, we just had a question enter the chat from Aiden. I've been doing personal projects to narrow down an area of interest, e.g. building a radio telescope, super cool by the way, simulating sinusoidal math, etc. What are some other methods I can employ to specify what I would want to write my thesis about?
Wow, that's a good question. So let me think about it. So what you want to write about your thesis? I think your results are important, but not just writing your thesis or dissertation, but also it is important that if you can publish that work and disseminate that knowledge, and that's really important. And also if you can present that work in multiple places, and that's really important. I don't know if I answer your question, but But really, it's a very neat area that you're working in, and I think I would capitalize on the uniqueness of your project and disseminate that work.
I definitely agree there. And I'm currently going through the process of taking my research interest and making a thesis out of it. And at least in my experience, what I've noticed is there is definitely a life cycle to how you generate an idea to a finalized thesis. Where at least for me, it really felt like, an idea, if it's good, it becomes a project. If the project's really good, it becomes a publication. And if the publication has further scope, then it becomes a thesis. Now, I've gone through a couple iterations where it stopped before the thesis point. But I think the idea is, keep reading, keep exploring, keep going out there. And as you gain more sense over the field that you're engaging with, you're going to find more and more unique ways to engage with it. And when you find one that really speaks to you and you feel like you could make a couple of tangible contributions in, you really have a thesis. And it sounds like based off of your current work, you're well on your way. I'm very impressed for one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Again, if you have any questions before we finish up, feel free to put it in the chat. We also have some great point from Ryan in the chat as well. So if you're not looking at that, definitely feel free to move over and take a look. One aspect I wanted to talk to you about is there's a bit of a misconception that if you leave academia, you can no longer really engage with, your research field. Out of curiosity, if you go into industry, how do you stay engaged with research? How do you feel like you're constantly on top of your field and keep that learning environment that you do get more implicitly in academia?
Well, so I don't know because I never work in academia. I wish I did. I never work, but I work in national labs. It's pretty much the same. You don't publish and you cannot disseminate what you do when you're in national labs because some of the work is very sensitive. But you still do research. You still read. You still explore, and you still contribute to technology. You may not be disseminating. But we continuously look for people to hire from industry simply because they know what engineers do in industry. And it is always in demand. If some professor applies for academic job, it's always very important for us to look into their expertise so we can bring them in so that this person really can help us or help our students to understand what industry does. So industrial experience is very good, and it's a misconception that people think that, oh, once you're in industry, you cannot come back to academia. It's not correct. It is not true. If you're in academia, it's difficult to get to industry, but if you're in industry, it's easier to come back to academia. It's a lot easier. So it's simply because of the reasons that I mentioned. We always look for experience gained in industry, and we always value that experience being transmitted to our students and for our students to learn that experience.
Great. We have another follow-up question from Aiden. As a follow-up, is over-specialization or generalization of a research area a problem? How should one avoid it?
Yeah, it is important. Like I mentioned earlier, and I work many classified work, and people say classified work cannot publish. That's correct. But you always find work that is in the fringes of that classified work, and you still can't publish the technology, publish the science related to it without talking about the classified part of the project. And you can always find ways to be able to disseminate that knowledge. So it's not ideal case, but it's always possible. So you gotta look at it. Now, I'm so specialized in just looking at the telescope or how does telescope work, but you don't know what talent and what knowledge do you have learned. You probably learn controls of that telescope. You probably learn and communications to that telescope. You probably learn how you can use the artificial intelligence maybe to understand the data that telescope is acquiring, right? Those are the areas that you can expand on and find things that at the edge or at the fringes to publish. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're about out of time, but I wanted to ask just one more question of you. Since the topic is building your future, in your experience and with your students, what have you seen as the number one indicator of success?
Well, if a student is really an independent thinker, that is, I can tell that student is going to be a successful student in the future. And I was talking to one of my former students recently and talking about another former student. And this person in my office, a former student, said that the senior former student was, yeah, he was just like you. It was like the second professor in the lab, and he was so independent and he knew everything. So from the beginning, that particular student, I knew he was going somewhere. It's so clear. So you need to be able to develop that independent thinking, independent creation, independent problem solving. So that's really important. Don't wait for your advisor to tell you what to do. You create, you generate, you investigate, you come up with solution. Be more independent. Of course, don't be disrespectful to your advisor, but important thing is that that's what your professor wants. Your professor wants to see you improve your skills and become very independent. Okay.
And I think that's a great point to end on. Just as one final word, in my personal journey as a grad student, I didn't start there. I didn't start with the insight that many of my peers have when it comes to analyzing a field and finding creative direction. But like any skill, it's something that you can grow and keep reading and keep pitching ideas and keep refining your mentality, and you're going to get there. I know for me personally, the first couple ideas I brought to my PI, complete trash, but I did it. I went through it. I got the feedback. I learned how to iterate over and expand my knowledge. And I feel like I have made progress.
Yeah.
And for every graduate student out there, you can too, whether it's over the course of your master's or your PhD or beyond, you're going to learn how to make a tangible impact in your field.
Yes.
And it's one of the most exciting things about research.
Exactly. Exactly.
And with that, we're just about out of time. I want to thank everyone for attending here today, and thank you especially for Dr. Kirkici for all of your insights. It was a lot of fun talking with you. And if you want to refresh on this information, it will be on our YouTube channel after the event. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure speaking to you and answering your questions. I really enjoy these sessions and talking to you and sharing my experience. Thank you again. Bye-bye.